Hi, I'm Emma from LexisNexis and I'm joined today by Joan and Patricia, and we're going to be talking about stepping into management. Patricia, can I ask you, what are your top tips for someone that's about to step into a new management role?
So I think first of all, be bold. Don't be afraid to shape the role in a way in which you think that it needs to be shaped. Secondly, be curious. Really get to know people around you and also their perceptions of you. And then last but not least, know yourself. So think about what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, maybe ask yourself a question, what brings me joy, or what support do I need?
Brilliant, thank you. And Joan, do you have any top tips?
Sure, I think the first thing for me is being authentic, be true to yourself and lead from there. Second recommendation would be to make sure you look and observe at what other managers are doing. We've all experienced good and bad managers throughout our own careers. Lean into the managers that you thought were good. What were the key skills that they demonstrated, and try and emulate those things. Be the manager that somebody else was a good manager to you on. Thirdly, I'd always say keep an open mind and an open approach to continuously learning. Being a manager is not the end goal. You have to keep on developing. And then finally, it's always looking for support. You can't do this by yourself. So again, look at other managers, look at internally other organizations, and try and lean in from the support that other people can give you.
Brilliant, so don't try and do it all on your own, and
Absolutely.
There's help out there, take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
So Joan, based on your experience of being a manager, what do you think are the key skills a great manager should have?
Sure, there are a variety of skills, but if I had to pick perhaps top three, I would say communication skills. As a manager, you're communicating with various people, so you're taking instructions from the senior leadership and you have to communicate that effectively down the chain. So you have to know how to modify your communication with different stakeholders. Secondly, I would say you need to be a leader with integrity. People take their cue from whether or not they can trust you. So integrity is a great skill that you need to make sure you demonstrate through your work, through what you say, and through what you deliver. And then finally, I would simply say, be that role model for other people and make sure you have an open policy to not only learn from others, but also to be that helpful voice for other people.
That's brilliant, thank you. And Patricia, have you got anything to add to that?
Yes. I am noticing actually how you ask us for a subjective opinion, and then in turn that makes me think about how there are different sides to this question. So I think from the perspective of the person being managed, I would want my manager to have the skills that would allow them to forge a strong connection with me, a mutual trust, and someone who is really invested in my career.
Brilliant, that's great advice. And also, that's a really good tip to think about the perspective of the people you're managing and what would be best for them. So thank you for that. So when someone is making the move into a management role, are there any particular challenges you think they should think about or try to plan for in advance of that leap?
So I think for me the obvious one would be the transition itself. So going from being an individual contributor, a peer, to someone who now manages a group of people. Those people may rely on you, sometimes on a very personal level, and they have certain expectations towards you. So that's a challenge in itself. And in addition to that, I think that having difficult conversations is something a skill that a manager should have. And yet, I think there is little training given around this issue. I think it can be very daunting for someone to have difficult conversation where no prior training or support is given.
So Joan, based on your past experience, what do you think are the top 2 to 3 challenges from a management perspective you've had to deal with that you could share with our listeners?
Sure. The first thing I'd say is managing is not an easy task. You have to deal with different personalities, different views, conflict resolutions. There is a whole heap that you will be stepping into as a new manager. And one of the key advice pieces that I would give is get to know your team individually, get to understand the individual personalities that you have to manage, understand what their ambitions are, understand where they want to develop, and then you're able to modify for each individual person your approach. The second tip I would suggest is don't assume you're doing a great job just because you stepped into a managerial role. Always ask for feedback, and that could be from the people you manage as well as senior leadership. And on that point with leadership, a great manager should also be a leader. A leader is someone who inspires, and you should be developing your team to be future leaders themselves.
Brilliant, that's really helpful, thank you.